Make way for Weird Britannia. Welcome to Watch Mojo UK, and today we'll be counting down the top 10 weirdest UK traditions. Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The United Kingdom is crammed with cultural customs, but some are a little bit stranger than others, and for this list we're celebrating the strangest of all. Number 10. Tar Barrel Racing. On November 5th, most of us are content to gather around a raging bonfire, eat charred sausages and watch firework displays. But for the residents of Ottery St Mary, that's far too boring. Box night by soaking barrels in tar, setting them on fire and carrying them into the centre of town as quickly as they can. Fancy giving it a go yourself? Unfortunately, the privilege is only extended to people born in the town, or who have lived there for most of their lives. Number 9. Weighing the Mayor. Over to High Wycombe, where the locals are pretty tough on corruption in local government. Ever since 1678, the mayor has been publicly weighed at the start and end of their time in office. The reason? Because if the incumbent had put on weight during their term, the overeating was traditionally seen to be at the taxpayer's expense. Historically, the crowd reacted by pelting the apparently corrupt official with rotten tomatoes and fruit. Nowadays, things are a bit more civilised, and the worst a heavyset mayor can expect is some light booing. Number 8. Up Helly Aa. Originating in the 1880s, an offshoot of tar barrelling in fact, Up Helly Aa sees Shetland Islanders celebrate the end of the festive season with a nod to their Viking history. On the last Tuesday of January, the streets of Lerwick see up to 1,000 torch-bearing participants dressed as Viking warriors parade through the town. Their final destination is a Viking longship which is ceremoniously set ablaze. Afterwards, the community comes together to party with dancing through the night and what must be a hefty clean-up the next morning. Number 7. Bog Snorkelling. Wales next, and if you happen to be in the Neath Arms in Llanertid, Wales one fateful night in 1976, you might have been privy to a conversation between regulars devising the rules for the noble tradition of bog snorkelling. 3, 2, 1, go! The unusual sport caught on quite quickly, and since 1985, Llanertid Wells has hosted the International Bog Snorkelling Championships. The wearing of flippers and snorkels is compulsory, and competitors are required to propel themselves through flipper power alone.
Loving it! Oh my god!
Wetsuits are optional, but a shower before getting in the car to go back home is not. Number 6. The International Birdman. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Almost. It's the International Birdman, and since 1971, budding aviators have been flinging themselves off of piers in West Sussex in various types of unconventional aircraft in an attempt to fly the furthest. Originally starting off in Selsey Pier, the competition is now held in Worthing and Bognor Regis and is divided into 3 classes. Condor class for the accomplished flyers, often with hang gliders, Leonardo da Vinci class for homemade inventions, and King Fisher class for enthusiastic amateurs in fancy dress.
He's gonna hit the boy! Oh wow!
Number 5. Jack in the Green. As part of the May Day celebrations across Britain, which are already pretty strange, a Jack in the Green is the lucky participant of a parade who gets to dress head to toe in foliage and other garlands.
To what, sir, do we owe this pleasure?
Originating in the 16th century, where competitions between local guilds to create the most elaborate garlands got increasingly out of hand, the event fell out of favour in the early 1900s. However, revivals across the UK from the 1970s onwards mean that the tradition of dressing as essentially a massive hedge is still alive and well. Number 4. Worm charming.
3, 1.
If you hear worm charming and think of complimenting its new haircut, or maybe taking it out to dinner and a West End show, you wouldn't get very far in our next entry. Worm charming competitions have been happening in the UK since at least 1980, where contestants try to raise as many worms out of the ground as possible. There are many techniques for this, most of which in some way involve twanging a garden fork to vibrate the soil. And there are world records too, with a 10-year-old girl charming a whopping 567 worms out of the earth in 2009.
Here's a worm! A real worm! You're winning!
Number 3. World Gurning Championships. Clearly ignoring their mum's advice that if the wind changes their faces will stay that way, funny face enthusiasts have been gathering for centuries at the Egremont Crab Fair in order to gain their way to being crowned world champion. With gallant gainers donning a horse collar for their performance, it's a simple premise really, but contestants go to great lengths to get an edge over their opponents.
Helly Aa from Manchester!
Well-renowned gainer Peter Jackman even showed his dedication to the cause by having his teeth removed in 2000 to get closer to gaining perfection. Number 2. Nettle Eating Championships. Disproving the notion that English cuisine is bland and inoffensive, the Bottle Inn in Marshwood, Dorset has been serving up stinging nettles to adventurous competitors since the late 1980s.
That's a lot of nettles.
A tradition stemming from an argument between two farmers about who had the longest nettles in their field, with one pledging to eat any nettles longer than his, the competition now has dedicated men's and women's categories and attracts foliage chompers from all around the world.
Try not to get too many under the table, we do watch for that.
With past champions eating up to 80 feet of nettles, you need taste buds of steel for this one. Number 1. Cheese rolling. How much do you love cheese? What would you do to win an entire wheel of it? If your answer is run as fast as you can down an incredibly steep hill, then get yourself down to Brockworth in Gloucestershire, where every year hundreds of cheese enthusiasts hurtle themselves down Cooper's Hill after a wheel of double Gloucester. This health and safety nightmare of an event used to be semi-official and run by an actual committee, but since 2010 it's taken place spontaneously to avoid any red tape worries. It's balmy British eccentricity at its very best.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from Watch Mojo UK and subscribe for more great content.